BJP wins elections by tampering with EVMs. At least, that is what its critics allege. It selectively manipulates voting machines only in constituencies where it needs an advantage, ensuring that the fraud remains undetected. The Election Commission, critics allege, is either looking the other way or actively helping the ruling party. Otherwise, they ask, how could BJP continue winning election after election across so many states? These are not allegations made by anonymous voices on social media. They have been raised by senior opposition leaders, former chief ministers, and political parties that have themselves governed India. According to the opposition, the ruling party controls the system, influences institutions, and uses electronic voting machines to tilt election results in its favor. If true, this would be one of the biggest threats to Indian democracy. But is there evidence to support these claims? Can EVMs really be manipulated? Or has the EVM become a convenient explanation for political defeat? Today, let us separate facts from assumptions and examine the evidence. Because democracy deserves facts, not assumptions. The allegation. When we break it down, the accusation has three main parts. First, critics argue that the Election Commission may not be fully independent and could be influenced by the government of the day. Second, they claim that EVMs could be programmed or manipulated in selected constituencies to benefit a particular party. Third, they argue that the VVPAT verification process checks too few machines, making it difficult to detect possible irregularities. At first glance, these concerns may sound reasonable. After all, elections are the foundation of democracy and citizens have every right to demand transparency. But do these concerns actually prove that EVMs are being manipulated? To answer that question, we need to understand how Indian EVMs work, the technology behind EVMs. One important fact is often overlooked. Indian EVMs are very different from electronic voting systems used in many other countries. They are standalone machines. They are not connected to the internet. They have no Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, SIM card or network connection. Once deployed, they cannot communicate with any outside device. This means the common image of someone hacking an EVM remotely is not technically feasible. Now, critics often raise a more serious question. What if the machines were manipulated before they were deployed? In theory, almost any manufactured device can be questioned. But there is a practical problem with this argument. EVMs are randomly allocated to constituencies and polling stations shortly before elections. The order of candidates on the ballot changes from constituency to constituency. A machine manufactured months or years earlier would not know which candidate would eventually occupy which button position. That makes large-scale pre-programmed manipulation extremely difficult. Over the years, courts have heard numerous challenges to EVMs and the system has repeatedly survived judicial scrutiny. That doesn't mean questions should never be asked, but it does mean that extraordinary allegations require extraordinary evidence. The biggest question, if BJP can rig EVMs, why does it lose? Perhaps the strongest argument against the manipulation theory is not technical at all. It is political. If a party truly controls election outcomes through EVMs, why would it ever suffer major defeats? Consider some recent examples. In Karnataka in 2023, Congress won a decisive victory while BJP suffered a major setback. In Himachal Pradesh, BJP lost despite an intense campaign. In Telangana, Congress came to power while BJP remained a distant player. Even in the 2024 Lok Sabha elections, BJP lost significant ground compared to 2019 and fell short of a majority on its own. If EVM manipulation were systematic and centrally controlled, these outcomes become difficult to explain. Supporters of the theory often respond by saying manipulation is selective. Only a few crucial seats are allegedly targeted. But that raises another question. If such a powerful mechanism existed, why would it be used so inefficiently that a party still loses entire states and even its parliamentary majority? At some point, the theory begins to create more questions than answers. Why does the allegation continue? If evidence remains limited, why does the allegation persist? There are several reasons. First, electoral defeats create pressure. When parties lose, it is often easier to blame external factors than to examine organizational weaknesses, leadership issues, or voter dissatisfaction. Second, many people have genuine concerns about the perceived independence of institutions, including the Election Commission. These concerns are separate from EVM technology but often become mixed together in public debate. A person may distrust institutional decisions and then extend that distrust to the voting machines themselves. Third, India has a long history of election malpractice during the paper ballot era. Older voters remember booth capturing, ballot box stuffing, and other forms of fraud. That historical memory naturally makes people suspicious whenever election results are unexpected. The concern is understandable, but understandable concerns are not the same as evidence. What reforms are worth discussing? Now, rejecting the allegation of systematic EVM manipulation does not mean rejecting all criticism. There are reforms that deserve serious discussion. One proposal is to increase the number of VVPAT slips that are physically verified after elections. Even if the system is secure, greater verification can strengthen public confidence. Another proposal is to make the appointment process for election commissioners more transparent and institutionally independent. Strong institutions build trust regardless of which party is in power. A third suggestion is to allow broader independent technical audits under carefully controlled conditions. Transparency generally increases credibility. These reforms are not admissions of wrongdoing. They are ways of strengthening confidence in the electoral process. Conclusion. So, where does that leave us? The evidence available today does not support the claim of widespread systematic EVM manipulation. Indian EVMs are designed as standalone devices. Courts have repeatedly upheld their use. And perhaps most importantly, political parties, including BJP, continue to both win and lose elections. That does not mean democracy should stop asking questions. It means we should ask the right questions. How can institutions become more transparent? How can public trust be strengthened? How can elections become even more accountable? Those are the debates worth having, because democracy is strongest when citizens examine evidence, challenge assumptions, and think critically. I am Dr. Ramesh. Thank you for watching Dr. Ramesh Now. If you found this analysis useful, please like, share, and subscribe. And let me know your views in the comments below. See you in the next video.